very brief philosophy lecture again. I don't know if it's of substantivism, relative importance, but to me, it's important that I get back my kind of dragged back into the arena and gloss over my jelly Zamboni, so to speak. A visionary philosophical imagination. Now, this lecture is simply going to be a brief one today. A brief question, another tidbit, pocket-sized philosophy lecture. And does knowledge truly exist or pre-exist for that matter, or antimatter? Now, I don't necessarily believe or kind of guesstimate my epistemological faithism or fideism within justified true belief, because there is always that metasemantical question of justificationalism exists, or beliefs exist, or even truth itself exists, such as kind of a paraconsistent or contrapositive kind of infinitary kind of undecidability or indetermination of Gödel's or Tarski's undefinability truth theorems, for example. Now, I would like to argue that truth and justification belief don't necessarily need to be kind of sluiced together into a kind of formulaic recipe, a morphomatic recipe, to truly constitute the mereological ingredients of knowledge. Now, knowledge, to me, might have an infinite kind of infinite qualia kind of correspondence, quantum chemical ratio, or array in a matrix, so to speak. Now, this is going to be a very brief lecture because my battery is dying, but I will quickly ask this question. Do you think that quantum chemistry and megaphology, as well as all possible philosophical synesthesium or versus analyticism, should objectively determine the preexistence of all possible a priori or synthetic, not whether neo-Kantian and anti-Kantian or neo-Hegelian or anti-Hegelian operators? Now, is knowledge to me simply the Mind-Boggling transworld identity across all physicalism, anti-physicalism, or is it simply bartering of parthoods of our mind, mental objects, temporicity speaking? Now, let me know in the comments what you think on this very brief philosophical question, shout out. But I want to ask you, what do you think knowledge constitutes in terms of all its metaphysical and megaphological operators that Weber singletons or even the pre-Planckian singletons, do they all face Gödelianization? And then in this surrealist micro-poem I want to add, do you think that all possible philosophies need knowledge in order to possess temporicity to temporicidal ratios, or narrow potency for that level, or for that bartering level, I so to speak, or even a neurocidal levels, which is the death of dreams, a neuroeschatology of all possible intuitionism. Is that knowledge? Is knowledge merely neural intuitionism at this encephalogical level, or is it kind of a Platonic transcendental or British or absolute idealism supervenience, whether it's human is or ought in a moral subjectivism in translational sense, or something more profound posteriori or analytic a priori, or analytic posteriori, synthetic a priori, synthetic a posteriori. Mustn't knowledge always translate into kind of designational truth tables just to matricize itself? And finally, what is knowledge to say a philosophical zombie, Boltzmann brain, chupacabra, Sasquatch, or all possible crypto Rodberry Mendelian hybrid in, say, Andromeda Galaxy? And finally, one of the final questions is, what is the penultimate absolute infinity of translatable qualic knowledge? And final question today is, what do you think knowledge is, say, in all possible paraconsistent or even contrapositive terms, where the kind of commonly communalistically accepted definition of knowledge is completely turned, inverted, flipped on its head through kind of tessellation flips of Tetris-like geometrization of knowledge inverted in all possible non-Gaussian, possible and quasi and objectively impossible worlds. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.